This episode is sponsored by Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Featured entertainment includes Randy Houser on May 31st and Keb Mo on June 1st. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Uncle Kracker performs live with Kenny Chesney, Zac Brown Band, and Megan Maroney for the Sun Goes Down tour at Commanders Field in Landover, Maryland on Saturday, May 25th. He joined me to preview the show and reflect on his career, from touring with Kid Rock to recording his own solo hits like Follow Me and Drift Away before his country music collaboration When the Sun Goes Down. Hey, Uncle Kracker, hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP here in Washington, D.C.
Thanks for having me join. I appreciate it. I don't get to join these things too often.
Well, why not? Why the hell not? Are you just too busy, out touring, I guess? But, man, we're glad to have you on.
Thank you.
You're coming to the Commanders Field. It used to be FedEx Field, but now it's Commanders Field in Maryland on May 25th for the Sun Goes Down tour with Kenny Chesney. Man, I've been going to these, since, I don't know, for the last 20 years. There's nothing like, tell our listeners why there's nothing like a Kenny Chesney summer country concert with the tailgating, two bare feet on the dashboard. Just tell me why. I mean, you and I know, but for our listeners, there's nothing like it, right?
Absolutely nothing like it. Aside from him being like one of the greatest entertainers I've ever seen, I don't think I can't put my thumb on it. I can't. Like I said, aside from him being awesome, he's just a ball of energy. I don't know anybody that can run around for 2 straight hours like he can, but it's just nonstop from probably 9 a.m. These people are out in this parking lot drinking until this show's done.
Oh,
it's insane. It's insane.
I agree. And not only is it like the summer country vibes with, you get the She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy side of the Kenny Chesney, but he also is sort of, rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. He's also sort of carrying on that. It's like that island trop rock country kind of a thing that and Zac Brown now, with Toes in the Water. I mean, they're going to be on this tour too. And Megan Maroney, Tennessee Orange, man, it's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, do you guys feel like that you're sort of carrying on the Jimmy Buffett legacy? And I know it might be a weird question, but I mean, he's gone now. And you guys kind of bring that to us.
I think it's, I don't know. I guess it could fall into the same category, just good time. I mean, everybody, I don't know. Everybody's working for the weekend, right? It's just it's a good excuse to come drink rum and beer. It's not that anybody needs an excuse, but I don't think it'd be hard to carry a Jimmy Buffett torch. I mean, I think that guy was the king of I don't know. What do you say? Trop rock?
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's
I don't know.
Yep.
But I think he was the king of that, and it'd be hard to carry the torch. But I mean, if we can get anywhere close, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. The king of that sort of genre, subgenre. But if I guess what I'm trying to say is that, at least for me, you and Kenny doing these tours, Zac Brown Band, like that, those kind of tours to me it's sort of like our generation's version of the Parrot Heads, if you ask me. The Kenny Heads, whatever you want to call them. Correct?
Right. Definitely a feel-good thing. And Buffett, to me, was always a feel-good thing. People like to get away and get out of their heads for a little bit. And Zac Brown and Kenny definitely give people something to do that with, as far as their songs and just their whole story, I guess. But people just want to get out of their heads for a little while, and Under the Sun tour is a good chance for it gives people a time and a place to do it, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's called When the Sun Goes Down, and that's you and Kenny's, your hit song that you had back in 2004. So, that song came on that same album. If you can't tell, I'm a huge Kenny fan. That was that same album that had "There Goes My Life." People hold their lighters up in the crowd, and "The Woman with You" and "Anything But Money," "Cake in the Closet." It was so much. But the one I wanted to ask you about was "I Go Back." Back then, Kenny was singing about all those songs that brought him back nostalgically. But is it weird now that like "I Go Back" is now the nostalgic song for us? He was thinking about all those songs, but now those songs that he was singing, it's like inception of nostalgia, I guess. But yeah, has he ever reflected on that with you, that now
Deep
we go
thoughts,
back to
man.
"I Go Back"?
Jason Fraley. It is weird, and I bet if you asked him, he'd say the same thing. I mean, I bet if you asked him 20 years ago if that would be the case, he would have said no way, not even a chance. But
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. Like you're right. For a minute I thought you were digging too deep, Jason, but well, I think it's a pretty good observation. To be honest, I never looked at it like that. Like it's been 20 years since sun goes down for us. It's crazy to think it's that much time has passed. It's crazy
Absolutely.
to think that much time has passed and I'm still doing this. That's crazy to get.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just, stream of conscious riffing on my my growing up with this music. But I want to hear about you growing up. So you were born in Michigan in '74. So like what were your, Kenny was rolling on the river with Credence, but what were you listening to growing up?
I was listening to like BJ Thomas, James Taylor, things like that, like AM 70 stuff like that
Yeah.
when I was a kid. And that all quickly changed, when the 80s popped in with like, Men at Work and
Yeah.
just Detroit radio when I was younger was a vibe because radio was different then too. I don't know if it was like that in every city, but where I grew up in Detroit, the station would play they play a rock song, and then behind it they play a pop song. Behind it they play a jazz song. It wasn't as generalized as it is, or as it got, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
even know where it's at these days, to be honest, but it was fun. Radio was awesome when I was a kid. And just but growing up, those were the things I listened to. It was all Motown. And then my mom was a big like I said, like Barry Manilow, BJ Thomas, James Taylor, those types of things. So those things were always on my radio as a kid growing up, running around.
Well, I love the eclectic stuff, especially around growing up where you did. Yeah, to steal a phrase, you got the rock from Detroit and the soul from Motown. um, hey, so speaking of which, how'd you hook up with Kid Rock? Did I read somewhere that it was like your older brother was like competing against him, or was it like a
Yes.
8 Mile rap battle kind of a thing in Detroit area, or what was it?
So there was a bar there was a bar outside of Detroit that turned into a teen club on Sunday nights, and the electrifying Mojo, who used to be a disc jockey on WJLB in Detroit, he used to hold these DJ battle competitions on Sunday nights, and they were a big thing. But my brother went up against Kid Rock in one of these battle competitions, and Kid Rock showed up. He didn't even bring his turntables. He paid my brother $100 to use his turntables and then smoked them on his own tables. It was pretty so
Insult to injury.
right. But met him that night, and he and my brother became buddies. And then time went on. He and I just became best friends. I mean, he and my brother actually even fell out, and but he and I became best friends, and it was just kind of unraveled like that, just through music.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, remind everyone you were part of that backing band, Twisted Brown Trucker, with, Joe C, rest in peace. So, the whole group of you guys back in Kid Rock. So that means that you were on turntables and a little bit of vocals, I guess, on a lot of those big Kid Rock hits we knew, right? Like, well, Early Morning
Yeah,
Stone Pimp was the first one, but Devil Without a Cause was the big blow up in '98 with Ball with the Ball and Cowboy
right.
Baby and Only God Knows Why. I mean, that was the ballad, but yeah, memories of that album, man. That was insane. Because I want to get to your solo stuff in a minute. That's what they know you for, but I want to remind everyone of your Kid Rock roots. Like, you're part of these big songs on that Devil Without a Cause album.
Man, we had a lot of fun. That's for sure. I wrote a lot of them with him, and you're right. A lot of them backup vocals are me on there. I DJ'd live, but Kid Rock did all the scratching and stuff on the albums himself because he's better than I am.
Right.
But but definitely fun. It was definitely a time to be alive, Jason. That's for sure.
Well, but what diplomatically put, my friend. Did you by the way, just one more follow up on that before we get to your solo stuff. That when he comes out with that American Badass off of History of Rock, remember the Undertaker used to ride out to that on his motorcycle
Yeah.
at the WWF stuff. Did you ever get to do any WWE crossover stuff like live performances or anything?
I never did any of those. Nope, I never got to do any of those.
Right.
Gosh, man, I know. No,
Well,
I wish I
maybe I'll phrase it this way. If you didn't actually get to do that, I like how the song talks about sort of all of your all's mixed influences. I like AC/DC and ZZ Top and Bocephus and Beasties and the Kings of Rock, Skinner, Seeger, Limp, Corn, the Stones, David on Code, No Show. You're crossing all genres long before the Beyonce Cowboy Carter. You guys are mixing genres back then.
we were, and I remember the record label hating us for it too. I remember. I remember we turned in Only God Knows Why, and I talked to like the A&R guy. I'm like, "Did you listen to Only God Knows Why?" He's like, "That country song? What the fuck are we gonna do with that?" And I just remember like, I don't know, man. I just back then it was so different too. We were all so young, and we all loved music so much, and it was the camaraderie, that was special. And you'd write something, be like, "Listen to this." Everybody, it was like competition almost amongst each other. So it was like just to make the best song, and whatever felt the best to us at the time is what ended up on the record. So it was really funny to watch the whole record label thing unravel with what we were doing at the same time. It was pretty fun to watch.
There were no genre barriers to any of that, which is what I loved about it. And you're right, Only God Knows Why is sort of a country feel. Same as the Picture was a Sheryl Crow duet that played on country radio and pop radio, and then Lonely Road of Faith, underrated of the slower, more epic
Yes.
songs. I love that song. Anyway, all right. So now to your solo stuff. So Double Wide comes out in 2000. We got to hit the Uncle Kracker breakout solo stuff here. So Follow Me is a song, probably the one, right? Wouldn't you agree? When people hear your name, that's probably what's most attached to it. They instantly sing
Absolutely.
that song. But yeah, just
Absolutely.
memories of putting that one together. Like, did you know it was going to be huge?
No, no, not at all. In fact, I wrote that thing in my bedroom one night because when we were you got to understand, Kid Rock and I we really were best friends, and he had an apartment about 2 blocks from where I lived, right out of high school. And every night was just shenanigans and music. Like, we had a studio in one of the bedrooms in his apartment. Wasn't a bedroom, it was a studio. Just, I say studio, I mean a little Tascam 8-track set up in the corner, right?
Right, right.
uh,
High tech stuff.
uh, so we would, but he started doing all this, like, just he just started straying from the rap stuff at one point, and I was like, man, I can do that. Let's try that. So
Yeah.
I had come this Follow Me thing, and he was like, man, that sounds like some really like dark James Taylor shit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was, the melody and the lyrics were much cooler than the version that got put out. It was but I remember writing that in the bedroom. It was all finger snaps and melody, and it was mainly just to pay homage to like all the old Motown stuff, which
Yeah.
is why it was, so many harmonies on the choruses. But
I believe
that's
I believe you that you said you wrote it, sitting on your bed in your bedroom or whatever, because you literally have the line, "I'll be the one to tuck you in at night." So it makes sense.
well, it's got that vibe. It wasn't I wasn't in there reinventing the wheel. It was just it felt good, it sounded good, it hummed along good. It was and I put it down on my 8-track in my room, and it was just where it started, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. You said that it was sort of inspired by snapping in Motown, but that second album, No Stranger to Shame, I mean, Dobie Gray's Drift Away cover, so that kind of is perfect throwback to the music. Sounds like the kind of music you were talking about that you grew up listening to. Was that just your homage to what you loved growing up?
It was. No, no, no. That the drift away thing was that was, so when Follow Me started taking off, I would have to go to these radio stations in the morning and do like an acoustic thing, and they'd want like 3 songs acoustic, in the middle of like the morning show, and interview type stuff. But I didn't have anything else on the record that sounded like Follow Me, so Kid Rock suggested I do Drift Away
Ah,
acoustically for all these promo things, right? and that's what happened with that's how I ended up cutting the drift away for the second album because I was doing the oh that's what it was. I went through I was in New York doing a promotional thing, and Scott Shannon, legend, right? Legendary DJ. He called the record label and he's like, "You guys are fucking up if you don't have Uncle Kracker do Drift Away for his next record." So and Scott Shannon, he had a lot of weight around all them record labels. So like, so he says it, everybody jumped all over it, right?
Yeah.
So we
I
ended up
mean,
cutting.
it's a great song, and it's for
It
some
is.
reason, maybe because it's Drift Away, it sounds like waves crashing, or maybe it's because everyone always botched the lyrics with the Dobie Gray and they say give me the Beach Boys instead of Beach Boys. Whatever it is, I always think of it as a summer song, kind of drift away into the waves.
But
Um
just the way it's written, it's so
yeah,
like, I didn't write it. Obviously, it was Menor Williams that wrote the song,
yeah.
which is Paul Williams' brother.
Wow.
It's just written so like easy, like it's mindless, right? I think that's what draws people to that.
Absolutely. Well, and bring it full circle back around then, because right after that, you hook up with Kenny to do When the Sun Goes Down in 2004. So yeah, we'll wrap it around full circle to the concert. Yeah, memories of putting that song together because it's the name of the tour. So yeah, I mean, how does Kenny reach out to you, or does it go the other way? Do you somehow reach out to Kenny?
No, Kenny had reached out to me. He was doing his first stadium show at Neyland Stadium, his hometown, Knoxville. And he was putting together he's putting together his show for that night, and he wanted to do like some special guests. Well, he calls Kid Rock and he goes, "Hey, do you think Uncle Kracker would come out and do a couple with me on for a an encore type scenario?"
Yeah.
And of course, Kid Rock's like, "I don't know, call him yourself." So I get this call from Kenny Chesney, and he's like, "Hey man, this is Kenny Chesney." And I'm like, who?
Were you
And
aware of him at the time or not? You
I
didn't know
was
who Kenny? Yeah.
had no clue who he was. And which is crazy because he
He had a
was
greatest hits out by then, man.
I know, man, it's pretty crazy. Did he
Yeah.
really?
I think like guys, see, I'm a cornfield country boy from like northern Maryland, but but I was probably listening to different stuff than you at the time. Well, I don't know. I picked up your Kid Rock stuff. So I don't know. Maybe we were on the same vibe. But yeah, man, I think he had like 3 or 4 albums by that point, or 5 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely crushing it for sure. But
Yeah.
but I learned really quick who he was. But he was like, I'll send a jet. And I was like, I will get on it. You send it, I will get on that thing, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, just showed up there was no rehearsals, no nothing. I just showed up at this stadium where everybody was screaming his name and did a couple songs with him for his encore. And we just became buddies after that. In fact, he had come through 2 weeks later, he was coming through Detroit to the amphitheater there. So I go out and to say hello and I don't think I did anything there, but we were on the bus afterwards, fellowshipping. He's like, "Hey man, I got this song I want you to cut with me."
Yeah.
And it was just went from there. I ended up going to Nashville like the following week. We cut that song, and it wasn't long after that it was out and like his single. So it was pretty quick and pretty awesome. Right? It was we just clicked. We just clicked immediately.
Wow.
He's such a good cat.
Oh, it's just prolific music, and I just double checked so I can fact check myself. It was 6 albums plus a Christmas album and a greatest hits by the time you
Holy
by the time you called and said, "Who the hell's Kenny Chesney?" I love it. But he kept it. I mean, he's probably done multiple greatest more since, 2 or 3 others probably. So I mean,
You
he's
gotta look. Them
prolific.
4 years leading up to that, though, I had been out on tour with that "Devil Without a Cause" record for
Yeah,
three
man.
years with Korn and Limp Bizkit and
Yeah.
Metallica, and just a completely different world. And
Yeah.
then it spun me out into the pop world that I was touring and doing
Yeah.
all those radio festivals with like Smash Mouth, and
Yeah.
it was just so. It was a refreshing. It was a breath of fresh air, to be honest. The
Oh,
whole
you
trip.
let's just say you have a good excuse for maybe missing some of those country albums. You were out you were out rocking your face off. That's great. But it's cool to see that you guys come together on all these tours. And so yeah, just sort of final seconds. Will you like be an opener along with Zach Brown and Megan Maroney, or are you doing sort of the hang backstage, pop out for a few at the end of Kenny's show, go back and keep partying?
So both. I'm open. I open the stadium shows, and then I pop back out with him. So I save a couple, and then I go back out with him and do those with him, and just to round out the night. Couldn't be happier than it.
Gotcha. Well, I want you all, after you rock the field, leave a little magic behind on that Commanders field for Jaden Daniels, our new draft pick quarterback. You know what I mean? We got new ownership now for the Washington football team. Yeah, leave a little magic for us, all right?
Oh, I'll leave a little magic out there for you.
Did you ever ball football, or who's your squad? Maybe Lions?
Yeah, Detroit Lions. It's been awfully hard to be a Lions fan up until the last couple of years, by the way.
Last year, yeah.
But they've definitely like transformation has been huge. I don't know what's going on there anymore, but they look great. They look great going into this year too. I mean, it's I might even put on a Lions hat this year.
Careful putting it on here. I think we, remember the Joe Gibbs days? We stomped y'all back in the playoffs in the early 90s. But hey, you know what you and I have in common? I had a Barry Sanders jersey growing up. Everybody did, man. He's the GOAT.
He is.
I mean, you could say Jim Brown and Walter Payton, guys I didn't actually get to see with my own eyes. But for my eyes, Barry was way better than Emmett.
He was great. He just got such a bad deal. I mean, he was loyal, but could you imagine, like, you were the only person that was getting that ball every play? So they just knew it, and you were just getting the shit kicked out of you all game.
Yeah. If he had Emmett Smith's Cowboys, offensive line there in Detroit, he would have been the one with the record holder in the Super Bowls. Barry, to me, man, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'll let you bounce. We won't talk Detroit Pistons and Tigers and stuff. We could go all day, and Red Wings.
Do we still have the Pistons?
Maybe.
I don't know, man.
You're the new bad boys.
Oh, shoot.
But hey, I really, really do appreciate you joining us. This was a ton of fun. We covered like a crap ton of ground in a little amount of time, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, man. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
All right, Kracker with Kenny Chesney, Zach Brown, and Megan Maroney at the Commanders Field in Maryland, May 25th. Sun Goes Down tour. Get your tickets, everybody.
Later. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.